Dividing with decimals can be tricky, so let's review that today. We'll start by looking at this problem, where the dividend is a decimal and the divisor is a whole number. Later, we'll look at a problem in which both the dividend and the divisor are decimals. When only the dividend is a decimal, the decimal point goes in the same place in the quotient as it is in the dividend. Once the decimal point is placed, we can divide just as we would with whole numbers. So, how many times does 16 go into 8? No times. Well, how about 85? You may have to try out a few numbers before you find the right one. Since 20 goes into 84 times, and 16 is less than 20, let's try 5. So what's 16 times 5? 5 times 6 is 30. Carry the 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 3 is 8. So 16 times 5 is 80. Let's write that over here. And now we can subtract. Now we bring down the 2. So how many times does 16 go into 52? Well, 15 times 3 is 45, so let's try 3. Three times 6 is 18. Carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So 16 times 3 is 48. So let's subtract that from 52. 12 minus 8 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So 52 minus 48 is 4. So let's bring down the last number. Well, how many times does 16 go into 48? Well, we just saw that 16 goes into 48 3 times. 3 times 16, being 48, means when we subtract 48 from 48, we get 0, and we're done. Here we have a problem where both the dividend and the divisor are decimals. Before we can start dividing, we need to turn that decimal, the divisor, into a whole number. To do that, we move the decimal point to the right of the same number of spaces in both the divisor and the dividend. In this case, we need to move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right to make it a whole number. What we're actually doing here is multiplying both the divisor and the dividend by a power of 10, in this case by 10 squared, or 100. Remember, with decimals, moving the decimal point to the right is the same as multiplying by a power of 10. With a whole number as a divisor, we can now perform division the same way we did before with a decimal in the dividend. Place the decimal point for the quotient in the same place it is in the dividend. Now we just do the long division. How many times does 35 go into 107? Well, 30 times 3 is 90, so perhaps 3 would work. 35 times 3. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So 35 times 3 is 105. Let's subtract that from 107. Here we get 2. Let's bring down the 1. How many times does 35 go into 21? Well, no times. So let's put a 0 in here and bring down the 7. How many times does 35 go into 217? Well, we already saw that 35 times 3 is 105. 217 is a little more than twice 105. So let's try 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 3 is 21. (217) minus 210 is 7. But we're not quite done. And though there isn't any numbers written out here, there's implicitly an infinite number of zeros. So let's bring down that 0. How many times does 35 go into 70? Well, 2 times. 2 times 35 is 70. 70 minus 70 is 0. And so we're done. So 1071.7 divided by 35 is 30.62. And as we've already seen, dividing 10.717 by 0.35 is the same as dividing 1071.7 by 35. And so the original problem has the same answer, 30.62. Those are the basics of dividing with decimals. As long as you remember what to do at the decimal point, it's just a matter of regular division. I'm Dr. Curtis. I'll see you next time.